So you guys worked on a project together, the Honor, Shame, and the Gospel. And would you mind maybe talking a little bit about how that project came to be and will be the subject of what we're going to talk about today?
Sure. In 2017, the Honor Shame Network convened a conference at Wheaton College, and it was the first Honor Shame conference. We had about 285 people attending who represented approximately 100 different organizations. And we had, I think, 28 workshops. So the articles in this compendium are a collection of works from the contributors at that conference. So we have, I think, 15 articles in here, plus an introduction that Chris and I wrote. And so, yeah, that's how it came together.
Yeah, I recognize Steve Hawthorne as just wrapping up the Perspectives course. A lot of the team members at iTech are, and I'm sure people would recognize some of the other authors and contributors as well.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Steve Hawthorne was the very first person that we invited to speak at the conference, and I intentionally wanted him to speak on the honor and glory of Jesus Christ and the mission of God. And so, yeah, that's what he presented, and it was an incredible presentation. In fact, it's available on video on YouTube, and you can also source that through the website honorshame.com.
Okay, well, make sure we put that link below, and that through YouTube, it would be through the Honor Shame YouTube channel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess a question related to your book, Honor, Shame, and the Gospel. For those who may not know about the honor-shame culture or dynamic that's found in cultures, could you give us, I guess, a description or an explanation of what that actually is?
You know, if you think about it, honor and shame are an integral part of every culture, though different cultures throughout history and different cultures throughout the world today kind of lean into them or emphasize them in ways that make them different. But honor and shame is actually a cultural dynamic that's present everywhere all the time. One of the reasons that that's the case is because honor itself is simply an acknowledgement of something that we consider virtuous or good, right? Philosophically, you talk about the good. Well, whatever that is, it could be moral virtue, it could be physical warrior battle virtue, whatever you might sort of esteem and look to. Whenever you acknowledge that thing with a kind of a thumbs up culturally, you're giving honor, right? You're recognizing, you're honoring, giving preference, giving recognition. So that's just a normal part of all cultures. You really can't get away from that. The only way to actually get away from that completely would be to remove a culture's understanding of virtue, and how, you know, you can't really do that. So every culture by default has that. Shame is really about falling short. We often associate shame with the kind of external forms of shame, like losing face, being embarrassed publicly, and certainly those are a part of the shame experience. But shame is really multi-faceted and very dynamic. You can feel shame or deeply shamed without any external audience because you know yourself to be inadequate in some way, right? Deeply defective in some way. And people throughout the world experience guilt and shame in terms of moral deficiencies, infractions. And so a lot of the scholarly writing is on how cultures do that differently. But bottom line is these dynamics exist everywhere all the time. And we often maybe change the words, change the terms to describe them, but they're actually even a part of our own culture today.
Yeah, and I think perhaps a common misconception or even a naivety, and I've definitely been there, of thinking that honor, shame culture and dynamic is only kind of exclusive for Asian cultures. But as you're saying, it's it's almost inherent in all cultures.
It really is, and the reason it's no fault of any layperson, because actually in the early 20th century there were a lot of writers, prominent anthropologists like Margaret Mead and Ruth Benedict, some of these very popular writers who put this idea out there that Asian cultures like Japan, like Thailand, and Middle Eastern cultures were shame cultures, or they were honor cultures. And they did that to distinguish it from what they considered more guilt-based cultures, which was a way of saying cultures that are normed more by certain notions of law, legal notions. And it is certainly true that Western experiences of honor and shame are different than, say, the Japanese versions of honor and shame. There's no doubt that there are clear differences. But to label one an honor culture or a shame culture as if really what that does is it masks the fact that we also have all kinds of complex and powerful forms of honor and shame in our own culture. And so, we do often use that term a little bit sloppily. The honor cultures in the Middle East, for example. But I think it's best for us to move towards a place where we really talk more about the honor or shame dynamics in each culture. That's probably a better way to do it.